Hey guys, welcome back to the Readers. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is a pro-revenge story. This opinion is garbage, Marcus told me. He'd been a lawyer for 3 years, and the firm assigned me to him for training, to show me, as junior counsel, how to be a litigator. I disliked Marcus for several reasons. He knew no law, and he couldn't write to save his life. For a litigator, those are like strike 1 and 2 right there. And strike 3 was this: he was a coward in court. I noticed this when he took me to a status hearing one day, and when it was his turn to speak, his hands were trembling. He was terrified in a basic status hearing, where all you do is update the judge on case progress. "What exactly is wrong with what I wrote?" I asked, trying to keep my voice level. "Not what I asked for," he said, spinning his Herman Miller chair away. But when I pulled up the email he'd sent me 2 weeks earlier on my MacBook, I saw that my opinion matched his request exactly. I knew his game. He was going to delete my billable hours for writing the memo and then claim he did it himself, leaving me short of my monthly quota. I knew because this wasn't his first time pulling this stunt. I knew my memo would end up on Sarah Chen's desk. She was the managing partner, without my name on it. I knew this because our firm, while being one of Seattle's top tech law firms with state-of-the-art software, had surprisingly poor cybersecurity. After joining in 2022, I quickly figured out how to navigate the firm's cloud storage and found evidence of Marcus plagiarizing my work. Marcus was the poster child of young urban lawyers. His Ferragamo shoes always gleamed. His custom suit screamed old money. Everyone assumed he was partner material. I, meanwhile, was clearly going nowhere fast, so maybe he thought I was an easy target. Big mistake. "You can't keep stealing my billable hours," I confronted him one day in the break room. "I have no idea what you're talking about," he smirked, adjusting his Rolex. "Maybe you should focus more on your work instead of making accusations." I was already being flagged for low billables, and Sarah Chen wasn't interested in my complaints. "Deal with it or find a way to work smarter," she said during our last meeting, barely looking up from her iPad. I couldn't work longer hours. I was already pulling the standard 6-day weeks that big law demands, but I could definitely work smarter. That's when I hatched my plan. With Christmas 2023 approaching, I decided to give Marcus a special gift. It arrived on his desk on December 24th, looking like a memo from Sarah Chen. She was old school and preferred paper to PDFs, so finding a printed memo from her wasn't unusual. Marcus strutted over to my cubicle that morning. "Here's your holiday assignment," he said, dropping the retyped memo on my desk. The task involved complex maritime law research, constitutional issues, and international trade regulations. "This will take forever," I protested. "I'm supposed to be off next week. Can't someone else handle it?" "Tough luck," he grinned. "It's urgent. Take it up with HR if you want overtime pay." He walked away, probably feeling pretty pleased with himself. What he didn't know was that I'd written my law school thesis on almost exactly this topic. My research consisted of finding my old thesis file, updating some citations, and reformatting it. I stayed in town during the break, occasionally sending work emails and logging fabricated research hours. When January rolled around, Marcus came to my cubicle in his finest Tom Ford suit, golden cufflinks catching the fluorescent light. "Where's my memo?" he demanded. "I need it for my noon meeting." "Just finished," I said, handing him the warm stack of papers. He weighed it in his hands, looking satisfied. The explosion came around 11:30. "Marcus!" Sarah Chen's voice boomed down the hallway. "Get in here now!" I watched him sprint to her office. "What the hell is this?" she demanded, holding my memo like it was contaminated. After some heated discussion, I heard, "Alex, get in here too!" "Did you write this?" Sarah asked me, her face flushed. "Yes, I did, though my name seems to have disappeared from the cover page. I spent my entire break on it. Is something wrong?" Sarah turned to Marcus. "You had him waste billable hours on this obvious prank? Are you completely incompetent?" The aftermath was sweet. Marcus didn't get fired, but Sarah required him to copy her on all assignments he gave me. My billables stopped disappearing, and I got a nice inconvenience bonus for my wasted holiday time. I still hated working there, but remembering Marcus's face that day always cheered me up. The next one is an entitled people story. I never expected to encounter such blatant sexism in 2024, especially not from a neighbor who had seemed perfectly normal at first. But I guess you never really know people until they show their true colors. This is the story of how my seemingly ordinary neighbor Karen turned into a nightmare when she discovered I was running my own successful business. I'm a 32-year-old man who started a digital marketing agency 5 years ago. Through hard work and dedication, I built it from a one-person operation in my garage to a thriving company with 25 employees. We specialize in helping small businesses improve their online presence, and I'm proud to say we've helped hundreds of local businesses grow and succeed. Karen moved into the house next door about 8 months ago. She seemed friendly enough at first. The typical suburban mom in her mid-40s with the classic, "Can I speak to your manager?" haircut. We'd exchange polite waves when getting the mail or taking out the trash, but that was about it. Everything changed when she noticed the steady stream of people coming and going from my home office during business hours. I work from home 2 days a week and occasionally host client meetings there. One morning, as I was seeing off a client, Karen marched up to my driveway with that determined look I'd come to dread. "Excuse me," she said, hands on her hips. "I've been meaning to ask, what exactly are you doing here? This is a residential neighborhood, not a commercial zone." I explained politely that I run a digital marketing agency and occasionally work from home, which is perfectly legal in our area. I even showed her my home office permit from the city. Her reaction was unexpected. She laughed. Not a genuine laugh, but that condescending chuckle some people use when they think you're being ridiculous. "Oh, honey," she said, shaking her head. "Marketing is really more of a woman's field. Men just don't have the emotional intelligence and creative flair needed for that kind of work." I stood there, genuinely stunned. Was this really happening in 2024? "I've been successfully running this company for 5 years, I replied, trying to keep my cool. "My clients are very satisfied with our work." "Well, that's just not possible," she declared, as if stating an obvious fact. "Men simply can't run companies like this effectively. It's been scientifically proven that women are better at communication and relationship building. You should really consider selling your business to someone more qualified." I couldn't help but laugh. "I'm not selling my business, Karen. And with all due respect, my company's success speaks for itself." Her face turned red. "Don't you dare patronize me. I have a degree in communications from 1998 and I've been in several MLMs. I know what I'm talking about." "That's nice," I said, turning to head back inside. "But this conversation is over. Have a good day." That's when it happened. As I turned away, Karen grabbed my arm and slapped me hard across the face. The sound echoed through the quiet street, and I felt the sting on my cheek. I was so shocked I just stood there for a moment, touching my face where she'd hit me. "How dare you dismiss me like that?" she shrieked. "You men are all the same, thinking you can just ignore a woman's expertise." Fortunately, my security cameras caught the whole incident. I immediately went inside and called the police, while Karen stood in my driveway yelling about how I was stealing opportunities from more qualified women, and how she would make sure everyone knows what a fraud you are. The police arrived within minutes. Karen tried to play the victim, claiming I had threatened her, but my security footage told a different story. They arrested her for assault, and I pressed charges. I wasn't about to let this kind of behavior slide, but Karen wasn't done. Over the next few weeks, she launched a social media campaign against my business, posting false reviews and claiming I was stealing jobs from women and perpetuating toxic masculinity in the marketing industry. She even started showing up at my office during client meetings, trying to convince my customers that they should take their business elsewhere because men can't be trusted with marketing. I documented everything and took it to my lawyer. We filed for a restraining order and sued her for defamation. The case was pretty straightforward thanks to all the evidence I had collected. The security footage of the assault, screenshots of her social media posts, and statements from clients she had harassed. The court proceedings were almost comical. Karen tried to argue that she was fighting for women's rights and that my success was somehow damaging to female entrepreneurs. The judge, a woman herself, wasn't having any of it. "Mrs. Thompson," the judge said, "discrimination is discrimination, regardless of who it's directed at. Your actions constitute assault, harassment, and defamation. Gender has no bearing on someone's ability to run a successful business." The judge granted the restraining order and ordered Karen to pay $50,000 in damages for defamation. She also had to face criminal charges for the assault, resulting in a $5,000 fine and 100 hours of community service, plus mandatory attendance at an anger management program. But the real karma came from our local business community. Word spread quickly about Karen's behavior, and several female business owners I work with came forward to defend me. They shared their positive experiences working with my company and condemned Karen's actions as harmful to genuine efforts for gender equality in business. Emily Johnson, the owner of a successful local restaurant chain and one of my longest-standing clients, wrote a powerful open letter that went viral in our local business community. As a woman business owner, I am appalled by Mrs. Thompson's actions. True equality means judging people by their abilities and character, not their gender. My company has worked with OP's agency for 3 years, and their work has been instrumental in our growth. To suggest that someone can't excel in their field because of their gender is not just wrong, it's dangerous to the very cause of equality Mrs. Thompson claims to champion. The letter was shared thousands of times on local business forums and social media. Karen's reputation in the community was completely destroyed. She tried to join several local business networking groups, but none would accept her after what she'd done. Update. 6 months later. A lot has happened since my last post, and I wanted to share how everything turned out. The aftermath of the whole Karen situation actually led to some unexpected positive changes in my life and business. First, Karen tried to appeal the court's decision, claiming she was experiencing financial hardship and couldn't pay the damages. Her appeal was quickly denied when the court discovered she had recently purchased a new BMW and was planning an expensive vacation to Europe. She was ordered to pay the full amount within 30 days or face additional penalties. When she still refused to pay, the court froze her bank accounts and began garnishing her wages. She finally paid the full amount, but not before trying one last desperate move. She attempted to file a countersuit claiming emotional distress because my security cameras were recording her property. They weren't. Her lawyer actually dropped her as a client after this, and she had to pay my legal fees when the case was dismissed. The mandatory anger management classes didn't seem to help much. 2 months into her community service, she got into an argument with the supervisor at the local food bank and was kicked out of the program. The judge wasn't pleased and added another 50 hours to her service requirement. But here's where it gets interesting. Karen's husband finally had enough. One morning, about 3 months after the court case, I noticed moving trucks at their house. Her husband Bob came over to apologize to me. "I'm really sorry about everything my wife put you through," he said. "This isn't the first time she's done something like this. We're getting divorced, and I'm moving back to Ohio with our kids. I just wanted you to know that not everyone in the family supports her behavior." It turned out Karen had a history of similar incidents in their previous neighborhood, which was one of the reasons they had moved here in the first place. Bob had hoped a fresh start would help, but clearly, it hadn't. Karen tried to stay in the house after Bob left, but she couldn't afford the mortgage on her own, especially after paying the court-ordered damages. She ended up having to sell and move to an apartment across town. As for my business, all this publicity actually helped us grow. Several local news outlets picked up the story, and it sparked a larger conversation about workplace discrimination of all kinds. I was invited to speak at several business conferences about my experience and how to handle harassment and discrimination in professional settings. My company gained a reputation for being inclusive and professional, and our client base grew significantly. We had to hire 10 new employees to handle the increased workload, and I made sure to hire based solely on merit and experience. Our team now includes people of all genders, backgrounds, and ages, and we're doing better than ever. Emily Johnson, the restaurant owner who defended me, became a close friend and business partner. We started a mentorship program for new entrepreneurs, regardless of gender, focusing on digital marketing and modern business practices. The program has already helped launch several successful startups in our area. The local business community really came together after this incident. We established a zero-tolerance policy for discrimination of any kind in our networking events and business associations. Several other business owners came forward with their own stories of dealing with harassment and discrimination, and we created a support system to help address these issues. Last week I received an interesting email from Karen's daughter, who's now in college. She wrote, "I want to apologize for my mom's behavior. I was too embarrassed to say anything at the time, but what she did was wrong. Your story actually inspired me to change my major to business administration. Thank you for standing up to her and showing that success isn't about gender. It's about hard work and treating people with respect." As for Karen herself, I still see her occasionally around town. She's been banned from most local business groups and lost her MLM downline after the incident went viral in their community. Last I heard, she's working as a cashier at a gas station across town. She still glares at me when our paths cross, but she keeps her distance. The restraining order is still in effect, and she knows I won't hesitate to enforce it. The whole experience taught me a lot about standing up for what's right and not letting anyone's prejudices define you. My business continues to thrive, and we're currently expanding into new markets. We just signed a lease on a larger office space, and I'm looking forward to growing our team even more. The support I received from the community showed me that most people recognize that skill, dedication, and character are what matter in business, not gender or any other superficial factors. I'm proud that my company has become an example of how success comes from focusing on merit and treating everyone with respect. Bob occasionally sends me updates about the kids, and they're doing well in Ohio. He started his own business there, ironically, a digital marketing consulting firm, and sometimes calls me for advice. We've developed a friendly professional relationship, and he's referred several clients to us. The security cameras that caught Karen's assault are still up, but these days they mostly just record the occasional delivery driver or neighborhood cat. I've had no further incidents, and my new neighbors are wonderful people who actually bring cookies over during the holidays instead of trying to steal my business. In the end, standing firm against discrimination and harassment was the right thing to do, both personally and professionally. My company's success continues to be the best response to anyone who thinks gender determines business ability. The next one is a petty revenge story. Might be a little long, so I apologize. So for a bit of context, I, 24F, used to work at a sandwich shop named after a public transportation in my hometown when I was 19. My manager and I were working a shift together one day, and the lunch rush had just ended. So she was mostly confined to the back, balancing the safe and washing dishes, while I handled cleaning the front of house and the line. I saw a woman approaching the store and quickly made my way behind the line and washed up. She came in with her phone pressed to her ear, and I was already on edge because of that alone. Customers who refuse to get off the phone to communicate their order are always difficult to deal with. I welcomed her and I asked what I could get for her. She said a turkey sandwich very curtly, then turned back to her phone. The entire time I tried to take her order, she would say rude, snarky comments on my occupation, and to just make the D at MN sandwich. How hard can that be? I swear you're all so stupid it's hard to believe you have jobs. I was irritated but continued smiling, but I could no longer force it to meet my eyes. I asked her what dressing she would like, and she said mustard, and refused to answer if she wanted regular spicy and honey mustard, so I just put regular mustard on it after she angrily told me to stop asking stupid questions. I finished the sandwich, rang up her sandwich and drink, and I hoped she would just leave after she was done. Nope. She finished 2/3 of her sandwich and came stomping back to my register, slammed the sandwich on the counter, and started non-stop ringing the bell to get my attention. I set down the prep I was doing and put on the best smile I could muster and went back to my register. She yelled at me that I would remake her sandwich for free because she clearly asked for honey mustard, and I put the wrong mustard on her sandwich to spite her. My manager butted in, having heard everything from me making this lady's sandwich to that point. She came up behind me and saw the woman had eaten the majority of the sandwich. She told the woman that she seemed happy with the sandwich and refused the remake. The woman then picked up her sandwich and threw it at me. Luckily, it only got on my jeans and apron, but my manager said she needed to leave or she would call the cops. The lady continued to argue that now her sandwich was ruined and we needed to remake it for her. My manager pushed me behind her and told me to go finish my prep. I'm only just on the other side of the wall and hear everything. My manager's boyfriend was a cop, so she pulled out her phone and called him and started telling him how one of her employees had just been assaulted by a horrible customer. I had met him several times and he was an awesome guy. Well, this scared off the customer and we went about with our day-to-day duties. I ended up quitting after a few months when one of my coworkers thought it would be funny to touch me with a cookie tray she had just pulled out of the oven. Fast forward to a couple months ago. I go to that same shop because I was in the area and a sandwich sounded good. I did a double take when I saw that same woman behind the counter, and she seemed to recognize me because she looked like shocked Pikachu. We go through the motions of making my order, and at the register I gave her a big smile as I popped a $5 bill in the tip cup and say, "I hope you have a blessed day." She went red hot in the face when I did this and went to say something. When my old assistant manager came out front, he saw me and got excited and started talking about his promotion and wife. When the woman went into the back, my friend started laughing about how he could hear the petty in my voice from the back, that he had to see the look on my face and that our old manager would have been proud. My manager now works a decent paying job and married her cop boyfriend. I work a decent job as well and luckily don't have to deal with customers at this one. As I would have loved to do something truly petty, I refused to stoop to her level. I've heard to kill 'em with kindness my entire life when someone wrongs me, so I decided to try that route, especially since I know how rough it can be to work in customer service and didn't want to cause this woman the same level of stress and anxiety she caused me. The next one is a malicious compliances story. This is kind of a short one, but here we go. I work at a thrift store, and sometimes we get some really rude customers. The other day, I had this lady who, after scanning all her items, insisted that I had scanned something twice and to recount everything. I assured her that I had not scanned anything twice and that her total was correct, but she demanded that I count every item and compare it with the number of items in the computer. I glanced behind her and there wasn't a line, so I thought, fine, you want me to count all your items? I'll count all your items. So I make a big show of voiding her entire transaction, taking each item out of the bag and re-scanning it. Lo and behold, I had actually forgotten to scan an item. So with a huge smile on my face, I say, "I'm so sorry, ma'am, it looks like you were right. Your new total is however many dollars more than before." I was so nice throughout the whole transaction that she didn't even get mad, just paid for her items and left. Karma is real. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We'll see you again tomorrow.